This is The Beat, a conversation about the Charleston County Sheriff's Office and our community. I'm your host, Oshi Alford. Hello and welcome to The Beat. I'm your host, Oshi, followed by our special guest today.
Hi, my name is William Malcolm. I'm the Director of Mental Health for the Charleston County Sheriff's Office.
So why don't you go ahead and describe what your position is?
Okay, so that's a big question.
It is. It was very vague, and I did it on purpose. I'm sorry.
I'm a trained clinical social worker. I've been working in the mental health space for about 13 years. In the past 7 years, I've kind of switched over into the mental health and criminal justice space. Mm-hmm. And I was previously managing an Alternative to Incarceration Act team. It's an outpatient program that focuses on the people with the highest need of mental health issues. And so I decided to move back to Charleston. I'm originally from here. I got introduced to the sheriff, and she said, hey, I want you to come work for me. I think the description was, hey, we need more support in terms of mental health. We're really focused on law enforcement, but we need more support in this area. I had to come in the first six months just to get to know everyone in this community again. I work with the people who have mental health issues, who have a lot of sheriff's office involvement, or who are coming out of the Sheriff Al Cannon Detention Center. These individuals need a lot of support and supervision and help in reintegrating into the community. It's really focused on the people that have a lot of involvement. This is a community of 500,000 people.
Oh yeah, that's way too many.
And so, how many drunken disorderlies, how many people who are just going through a crisis. Someone is going through a crisis, the police get called. Mm-hmm. And they may have just having a mental health crisis, but they may have committed a crime as well. You have to address that in a bunch of different ways. Mm-hmm. One piece of that is the mental health treatment. There is an individual, the deputies have been called out to his house 40 to 50 times in the past 2 to 3 years. They're frustrated because they feel like this person isn't getting the help he needs. I go out there, I meet with his family, kind of talk about his situation, and start to kind of put the pieces together to help them have less involvement with the sheriff's office. Instead of him possibly getting arrested in the future for some crime, we're going to avoid all that by getting him some help and treatment and support. That is really one of the underlying issues. He just needs help, and his family needs help in kind of figuring out what to do with him. I have like dozens of those people, as well as like people who are coming out of the jail who've just been in and out of the jail for like 30 days, 90 days for kind of low-level crimes, but it's really as a result of their mental health issues and their substance use and their homelessness. They're just not getting the support they need. It's hard to get mental health treatment. It's hard to know where to get the medication, what medication to take. I can be there alongside them to kind of advocate for them. These resources are often hard to find, and they're scarce. Finding them and getting people into the appropriate program is a lot of work. You just have to keep doing it until you find what's right.
Do you find yourself more predominantly working with people who are maybe from like a lower income bracket?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think that those are the people that are often overlooked. These are the people that are the most vulnerable. They're the people that don't have resources, they don't have family, they don't have jobs. These are complex problems that probably took years for these people to fall into the position where they are now.
There is more than one way to solve this issue, and just arresting people and throwing them in jail. Do you think that these issues that they're having is that reason that they are lashing out, why people are having to like call the police because they're causing a scene? Do you think that's more of a cry out for help?
Oftentimes, the sheriff's office will show up, because a crime has been committed.
Right.
People ask like, hey, you're working with people who may have committed horrible acts, rape, murder, or something extremely serious. And I think that those people still need help. Just because I help them doesn't mean I agree.
Condone, yeah.
Yeah, I don't condone what they do. I kind of view it as like the opposite way. if I help these people, eventually that might help them not commit another crime.
Right.
Somewhere around like 90% of people that go to jail or get arrested are going to return to the community. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be going to state prison very often and staying there for the rest of their lives. Mm-hmm. And so those people need help. And I think that getting them treatment and providing support has been proven to reduce recidivism. These interventions make our community safer. Like, these prevent crime. I want to prevent there from being another victim.
Mm-hmm. So rehabilitating the person as an answer versus just throwing them away, like locking the key, putting them in prison for the rest of their lives.
Well, right. I mean, if you do nothing, they're likely to reoffend. They're not getting a job. They're not taking care of their kids or having any relationship with their families, and they're not paying taxes, any of those things that we want from the people that we live around. If you give them the support that they need, they can start to do those things. Mm-hmm. And I think that does make our community safer. This is a great place to live. And I'm able to do something that I'm really proud of it.
It's extremely impactful.
I really like what I do. A typical week, it can be really hard to describe. I might get a call from an officer or someone saying, hey, we've been out to this house like 12 times in the past 3 weeks. I'll kind of look through some of the documentation that the officers have given me, and then I'll go out to the house and try to meet with those people. And whether that be like a problem between a girlfriend and boyfriend, it may be a problem between a husband and wife, kind of figuring all those dynamics out. I can help them, but I can't force them to do anything. Mm-hmm. People will only do a little bit of change at a time, and that's okay.
When they call you, do you go out with the deputies? Do you go alone?
It depends. Most often, violence against clinicians is pretty rare.
Because they see you as a helper.
Right, but I still have to keep myself safe in order to do my job.
Absolutely.
Captain Tittle is my supervisor, and he has worked with me really well to kind of get me comfortable and kind of talk about, hey, this is where I'm coming from as a law enforcement officer with a lot of experience. It's really been a learning process for me. I've worked in nonprofits my entire career, and so now working in law enforcement, I kind of see a very different side of things. Mm-hmm. The officers are actually really trained very well in terms of just mental health training already. Every officer with the sheriff's office has to be trained with crisis intervention training. That's a 40-hour course, and it's taught by the South Carolina Department of Mental Health along with the National Alliance for Mental Illness. The sheriff's office has a lot of resources at its disposal. We have a strong relationship with South Carolina Department of Mental Health, along with all the hospitals in the community. It's not that I'm coming in as the only resource available. Mm-hmm. It's really, hey, this is another piece that we can use. A lot of these people that come into contact with the patrol officers will get kind of routed to programs and services throughout Charleston that have been available and created for mental health. But it's the people that maybe are kind of at the edges, the far edges of society, the most vulnerable, that people have not been able to get them into treatment or even to kind of get them a little bit better.
So you're more of like the extra step that goes into it.
Right. I mean, if I just continue to try to meet with them and show them, hey, I'm going to help you get a cell phone. I'm going to help you get your food stamps. I'm going to help you go to see your child. It's those things where you create those engagements where it becomes more and more positive to where people start to really trust you. Once they see like, hey, he's kind of helpful, they start to trust me.
Well, I think this is a very valiant course that you have taken in your life. What was that experience that you had years ago or however long ago it was before you decided that this is something that you wanted to do to help people?
It's pretty simple. My dad's a psychiatrist. I mean, my dad kind of just showed me how he loved what he did, really helping people and helping the people that were most vulnerable. kind of resonated with me kind of early on. I started working with people with mental illness, and then I eventually went back to grad school and became a clinical social worker. I got a job with an organization in New York City. When I started to meet these people, they were very resilient. They had faced trauma as children. They were homeless. They were addicted to substances, and they had serious mental health issues. Getting those people treatment and support felt really good. I could tell 1,000 stories about people that have really been through like horrible things, and they've kept going, and they kind of don't give up despite kind of insurmountable odds.
You're very passionate, and I think that's fantastic. The fact that you are so passionate about something that is really a calling. It's not just anybody off the street can do what you do.
I think that you do have to be genuinely interested in these people, and you have to look to kind of find something that you understand about them that shows that you have some empathy. I worked with a man in New York City who literally stole a bag of Doritos and a Coke. He was attacked by the people at the store, and they were just trying to prevent him from shoplifting. But he grabbed a pair of scissors during that, and he did not attack them. But he was charged with assault with a deadly weapon, and he was schizophrenic, and he needed help. He went to Rikers, but he got out, and we started meeting with him 2 to 3 times a week and providing him with help and support. And eventually he got his own apartment. Just a very interesting guy. Those same types of individuals are here in Charleston. There's a gentleman here in the jail. He kind of keeps coming back into the jail every couple months. And I meet with him in the jail. He's more open to me about his drug use, but he's not a master criminal. He's a guy that just keeps kind of making the wrong decisions. I think no one kind of gives him like a little bit of support in the right direction.
So what is different from what you do specifically versus what our mobile crisis units do?
Mobile crisis comes out to the scene when someone had 911 called, and the police officers come out to the scene and say, hey, this person's in a mental health crisis. They probably need to be, evaluated by someone in order to go to the hospital. And so mobile crisis operates throughout Charleston County, as well as like almost all the counties in South Carolina, through the Department of Mental Health. These clinicians come to the scene, meet with these people, evaluate them psychiatrically, and determine this person needs to go to the hospital. They get better for maybe a week or two, and they go back. That's where I go and follow up. So I'm not kind of, supplanting mobile crisis. They serve a vital need, and they do a lot of work. So it's really about the people after the crisis. It's the repeat offenders, so to speak, that need support afterwards because something had not worked after the first crisis or the second crisis or even the third crisis. So let's figure out what's going to help them in the meantime.
Do you have a favorite success story of someone that you helped?
So I just helped someone get into a residence after getting out of the hospital. She'd been kind of kicked out of one of her houses. And so it was about getting all these other people to agree that she could go to this program instead of the program that I felt wouldn't be best for her in her recovery. I was able to get her in there, and she's doing well. She's got a really good attitude about her recovery and her court case. You have these small successes where it's like, hey, I got this person off the street for a little while, and I made sure that they didn't go back to jail.
Thank you so much for joining me. I've learned quite a bit about what you do and what Charleston County Sheriff's Office does in support of people who are in need mentally. Thank you for what you do. I think it's fantastic, and I hope to, not need to see you again.
Okay. Well, if you need to talk, I'm here to listen.
I appreciate that.
But I appreciate you having me here, and thank you. This has been The Beat, a conversation about the Charleston County Sheriff's Office and our community.
I'm your host, Oshi Alford. Look for future episodes by following the Charleston County Sheriff's Office on Facebook, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.